Welcome to Beyond Wealth, Success Unscripted with Matt Calnan. Discover the personal drive, professional journeys, and business strategies that have made a real impact. It's success from the inside out.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. Today we're chatting with Laura Istead, a dedicated community builder with a passion for leadership and creativity. Laura is skilled in storytelling, community engagement, and public relations across various sectors. So first of all, welcome to the show, Laura. And do you want to start off by telling us a little bit more about yourself and what you're working on?
Yeah, thanks so much, Matt, for having me here. As Matt said, my name is Laura Istead. I am the executive director of a really cool nonprofit called Two Wheel View. We are a youth development organization that helps young people build life, leadership, and employability skills, and we do that using bicycles. So it's an absolute joy to work, there most of the time, I would say. And, it's working for a nonprofit is not always easy, but there's a lot of really cool things that come along with that. I'm also the creator of the Social Sector Social, which is a project that I'm kind of building out and sort of figuring out as I go. But it's about engaging nonprofit folks and connecting them in a more informal way for mutual support and just kind of trying to raise up our sector and the folks that work there. There's about 2 million people in Canada that work in nonprofit, and so really want to connect folks, just to be able to support each other through the hard times and celebrate the good stuff as well. And so I do that. I'm a proud aunt. I'm a proud Calgarian. Love connecting with folks. And I lawn bowl on Wednesdays.
And as we learned in our pre-podcast, you used to live in Lethbridge, which is where I live, and we're very familiar with Jamie sandwiches from
The epic Jamie sandwiches. If you haven't had one, you should go get one.
That's great. The nonprofit world, first of all, I'm shocked that there's that many people. I didn't know that it would be anywhere near 2 million. What kind of types of nonprofits would make that up? It just seems like a staggeringly high number.
Yeah, I mean, there's things, like all sorts of social service organizations, anybody that's working in kind of that service arena, really, that is working in the folks that, help support folks with cancer or raising money for that.
Right.
The Stampede is a big nonprofit here in town. We have folks that are working right on the front lines with folks facing homelessness and food insecurity, things like that. And then there's organizations like mine that are more on the preventative side of the situation, where we're trying to help young people and other folks gain skills and resources and find support so that they don't have to necessarily access those services by other agencies.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Can you maybe dive into a little bit more about that nonprofit and exactly, what you guys are doing, what your targets are, who you're working with?
Yeah, absolutely. So we work with young people aged 12 to 24, and we feel that all youth are vulnerable, but we definitely put ourselves in communities and connect with other agencies and organizations that are working with youth that are facing multiple vulnerabilities in different ways, whether it's socioeconomic, whether it's cultural, newcomers, just any youth that's, facing some sort of struggle to kind of get going and try to, figure out, the workforce. For example, we run an employment program for 18 to 24-year-olds where they come to our program. For some of them, it's their very first job. These young people are referred to us from other agencies, and, we're able to offer high school credit through this program. So we're helping young people graduate high school and kind of get their life kicked off that way. But also trying to help them build confidence to enter the employment sector. It's tough. It's tough to get a job anyway. But if you don't have a network and you don't have supports at home, or you don't necessarily have a role model, or you don't necessarily have folks that can kind of help guide you through that, it's even more tough. And so we're trying to provide that for young people through our Gap Employability Program. And we're now in the fall, we'll have launch our 14th cohort of that program. And it's just been really amazing. Recently we had a participant who was able to graduate as a result of their involvement in our program from high school. And then we hosted a seminar on scholarships, and they got really interested in kind of the possibilities there. I wrote them a reference letter, and they've now accessed a really, really, really large scholarship that's going to pay for their entire 4 years of post-secondary education that they wouldn't have otherwise had. And so, those kinds of these are the kinds of things that we're doing, and it's deep and it's intentional and it's very individual to the person that's kind of coming through the door, because everybody's story is different.
Yeah, and with that example in particular, I assume that a lot of the individuals that you work with, and maybe I shouldn't assume this, but probably a lot of the individuals you work with are on the lower income spectrum as well. So it might be one of those things where they don't even have the opportunity without a scholarship to be able to go to post-secondary.
Typically that's the case. Our young people that are just trying to figure it out, or experiencing or have experiencing homelessness in some way, or facing food insecurity, or just struggle to get through school because traditional learning wasn't there, didn't fit for them, and so trying to find alternative ways for them to access resources and connect with community and find jobs. And I mean, we do a lot of things like helping them understand about workers' rights and accommodations. What can you ask for in a position if you're neurodivergent, or you have some different types of things that make you unique but also require some supports in different workplaces, and how and when can you ask for those things. We do financial literacy. I think this would be of interest to you, Matt. We do financial literacy with these young people because for some of our young people, because we pay for this program, we pay them to attend. It's some of their first jobs, and we want to make sure that they have that a little bit, even if they don't, deploy it right away, being, kind of 18 to 24 years old. We want them to have that information in their back pocket so that when they're starting to, get a job and have some money kicking around, what can they do with it that'll help them set them up for their future.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a big proponent on financial literacy, and I think that our school system, and this is, not in Alberta or Canada, or this is North America wide and very likely worldwide. It's an atrocious job that our school systems do with that. And unfortunately, it's probably because the educators that are in that field, it's just not their expertise either, right? So
Yeah.
they're not going to school for that. So then how do you go and teach that? But I think it's one of those skills where we need younger people to understand what a mortgage is, right? Like
Yeah.
nobody knows what a mortgage is until you go to buy a
Yeah.
house, and
Yep.
and I think that's an issue where we need to
Yep.
have that education.
Absolutely. And if you don't have, if you're not getting it at school and you don't have necessarily role modeling or blueprinting for that at home,
Yeah.
where do you access that information? And how do you even know, how do you even know it's even out there, or it's a thing that you can get, can access if you've never seen it before? And
Yeah.
so we try to really we use bike mechanics as a big piece of this work too. So they learn bicycle mechanics, and that's how the bikes fit in. But we kind of use that as our lever to bring a lot of these other life lessons in. And at the end of the day, it is really just a lot about building their confidence and getting them excited and getting them, when you don't get an interview or you don't get the job, how do you get back up every day and do it again, and keep on doing that and keep persevering through those challenges? Because certainly that's when you're looking for a job, that's one of the toughest parts, is keeping your morale up, because looking for a job is a full-time job in a lot of cases. And so
Yeah.
just helping them build their confidence, having a place where they can come back and connect to. And yeah, it's pretty cool to be a part of their story and to be able to see them launch into the world.
Awesome. Yeah, it's great. And for yourself, how did you get into this line of work and into this field?
Yeah, well, I think I've always, if you'd ask my parents, they would probably say that I've always been a carer, maybe to the point of too much. I was a kid that was, rescuing bugs and picking up litter and kind of those sorts of nerdy things. So I've always had sort of a caring wiring, I guess, in particular. But I was my story to of you. I was an intern. I had been working for the provincial government in 2008. I was on contract, and then in 2008, and I didn't really understand kind of the global piece of what 2008 kind of looked like for folks.
Yeah.
But for me, I lost my job because they couldn't renew my contract, and so I was unemployed and moved back home, actually from Lethbridge, and I had the government at that time had put some internships for folks that were working in or underemployed or unemployed in the nonprofit sector or in the environmental sector. And I had worked for Alberta Environment prior to this. And And so I applied for this job at this little scrappy nonprofit I'd never heard of that had, 3 staff and a couple of facilitators. And I was going to be a facilitate bike mechanics programs in this program called Earn a Bike. And I'm not a bike mechanic and didn't think I had much of a chance, but they saw something in me, I guess. And that was 13 and a half years ago. So I've been the executive director now for 7 years, and it's been a wild ride, like literally and figuratively, in lots of ways. And it's I'm still not a bike mechanic, like at all. And thankfully I work with a lot of amazing, talented humans that know all of that stuff. But I was an intern. We run a program called Earn a Bike, which at that time, graduated 12 young people a year. And it's exactly what it says. So we go into schools and community associations and other places that want to have this program, and we work with young people, junior high and high school, and it's an after-school bike mechanics program. Or for 10 weeks, we teach them air, brakes, chains, derailleurs, safety, that sort of thing. And we also sneak in a lot of social emotional learning skills as well. So we teach, we talk about teamwork. How do you work through differences? How do you have good, communication? What is it to be a good community member? Things like that. And at the end of the 10 weeks, they earn a bicycle, lock, helmet, toolkit, and some resources to help them navigate around Calgary. And like I said, we started, when I started, we maybe graduated 12 kids a year. This year's our highest grad class, over 350 young people in Calgary. And we work with young people.
350? Sorry,
350,
350?
yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
350 young people graduated our Earn a Bike program this year. So folks donate bikes to our shop in Inglewood. Last year we collected 1,700 bicycles, used bicycles from folks, and we fixed them up with our staff and volunteers. The youth request the bike they would like. We do the best based on our selection.
Yeah.
And then they ride away on that last day on their new to them bicycle and brand new helmet and lock and toolkit. And with a lot more confidence and social connection within their school, and in their community. And then we know that the bicycles that these young people are earning are helping them get to school more often. They're helping them access community resources, even social resources like hanging out with their friends. I mean, I think lots of people have kind of that common story of going out riding with your buddies, and that's the way that you sort of got around and that first taste of freedom. But we also know that our bikes are helping young people get away from situations too, that are tough,
that's a good point.
and giving them some space, and some mental health and some physical recreation and all of those things. The bike's a pretty powerful tool for all of that.
Yeah. It's kind of similar to when if you're 16 and you get your license for the first time, it's really a lot of those people probably don't have that opportunity, right? So this becomes maybe that opportunity for them. And I would assume that the pride that somebody has when they get that bike and the new helmet and all of that, knowing that they worked for it and contributed to it is probably pretty exceptional.
Yeah, we really believe in the learning and earning model. I mean, we could give out thousands of bikes to thousands of kids a year, but that's not really what we're about. We want to empower them with skills to take care of it. And I think that speaks to, our return rate on bicycles is very, very small, where we have, people saying, hey, my bike is broken, I need to bring it back,
Right.
because they're able to care for them. And I think it also just allows these really amazing bicycles to stay in the community longer, because they're not just going to the participant. They're going to a sibling later. They're going to a cousin, maybe. They're going to another kid in the community. And then that just allows that ripple effect of that program and that experience, to continue on. And I think there's something really powerful about that. And the fact that we're, removing the environmental impact is pretty huge too, of removing a lot of otherwise, pretty great bikes, from the landfill.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Good for you guys. It just switching gears a little bit. Oh, that was good. I didn't mean to do
Oh,
that.
good one.
Switching
We
gears a
like
bit.
bike puns.
What was the inspiration behind the creation of the social sector? Sorry, it was social sector social,
Social,
right?
yeah.
Social
Yeah.
sector social.
Yeah.
Triple S.
The name is a little bit of a mouthful, but it was really because I've worked in the sector for over a decade now, almost a decade and a half, which is wild to me. I don't, it feels like I just started, but and I've been through a lot, and it's, working in a nonprofit is kind of like working, in a constant startup. You're trying to figure things out. You're trying to find funding all the time. You're trying to solve problems. You're trying to solve the problems of the things that you're doing, and then also the mission. And so there's a lot going on, And I've really benefited from my relationships with other people in the nonprofit sector, and just having them to be like, oh, here's the crazy thing that happened to me today, or isn't this a weird, idiosyncrasy of your job? And so I wanted, and I'd felt kind of something brewing for a while that I wanted to do, and bring folks together, and not in a intentional, it is intentional, but not in a we're going to network sort of way. It was very much like, we need a space where we can be candid about the things that are hard, and celebrate the things that are good, and providing that interconnectivity. And if I can help someone else's journey in the nonprofit be a little bit smoother than mine,
Yeah.
then I want to do that. And I want to provide support for new folks that are getting into the sector and into leadership, and provide a space for some of our folks that have been around a long time to also share what they've learned, and provide some of that more informal mentorship. Because I truly believe, a lot of those conversations used to happen around the water cooler, maybe, and we don't have that in the same way as we used to,
Yeah.
particularly during COVID. But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I get so much from those meetups, and we just, we go, and I could have called it nonprofits and nachos, because we ate nachos pretty much every time. But it's been so good to just bring folks together. And I don't qualify people so people can self-identify as nonprofit folks, or folks that are supporting people in the nonprofit sector, and just really trying to bring folks together. And I have a few more ideas of how I want to do that. There's definitely a challenge with mental health in the nonprofit sector by employees, and why when you're supporting so many people that have so many things going on, the sort of secondhand stress and trauma that you're receiving, that really isn't talked about too much. And so I'm hoping that these kinds of conversations and these types of events start to open the door for that a little bit more, because I just think it's important. And we can't. The Calgary Chamber of Volunteer Organizations had a really good slogan last year. I think it was like, too important to fail. It is too. The nonprofit sector is doing so many things and contributes so highly to the GDP of our country, that we cannot afford for there to be sort of a mass exodus of the carers of the world. We need them more now than ever, and we need to support them well, and we need to make sure that they're compensated properly, and that they're seen, they're just seen. And then sometimes that's all that it is. When somebody, like yourself, invites me in an opportunity like this, it's nice to be able to talk about what we do, and yeah, I hope to
Share the
contribute to that.
story.
And yeah, I hope to
Yeah.
contribute to that in some way,
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think some of the skills that you have are transpose into success in that nonprofit? I'll call it a nonprofit career, because uh, nonprofit is a difficult industry to be in. I've never been a nonprofit, but I've got a lot of friends that
Mm-hmm.
do work in the nonprofit sector, and it's difficult because you're always chasing funding. You're always working on, are we going to have this program in 2 years? Is this going to happen? What are some of the skill sets that you think have helped you out in that?
Yeah, well, there's a creator, a digital creator and nonprofit person out of the States called Vu Lee, who would say, you don't have to be necessarily terribly educated to be in the nonprofit sector. You just have to have a high tolerance for pain and chaos, which I fully agree with. But also, some of the smartest, most talented, gifted humans I know that have a ton of education work in the nonprofit sector. So, there is a lot of that. I think it's about, I think for myself, it's social skills and good human skills, and a deep care of other humans. And I think it also comes with a lot of the word I think about a lot and I use a lot is grace. People are on varying journeys that we cannot understand. And
Yeah.
people are going through things, addiction is a whole, that's a whole thing. Like, we don't understand what other people are going through as intimately as we think we do.
Mhm.
And really allowing folks to have that grace, and to be, and that's something I hope to be as an employer as well, is to allow space for people to have a life and have, things that they have going on for them, and allowing them the space to deal with that, and recognizing that their job is not the only piece of them.
Yeah.
I think it's about being a cheerleader, like a relentless cheerleader for other people, and trying to, even when stuff is hard, and even when people are going through things, like really believing in them, I think is something that, I have maybe an extra dose of, I don't know. I think I think you have to try to be optimistic a lot of the time, even when it feels like it's hopeless. I think, often we're the people who believe that change is possible, and that we can live in a better world, and that we're contributing to that every day. And I think, I think those are kind of the top skills. I think it helps to really surround yourself with good people, though, because I
Yeah.
am not a financial person. I've never been a numbers person, but I have an incredible CFO. I have an incredible fundraiser. I have an incredible shop team that just is so skilled. And it's about finding those people and bringing them on board and then setting them up and letting them do it. Like, get out of their way. I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of sometimes in leadership we have that ego where we need to be the leader, and we need to take the credit and all of these things. And I think, and that happens in business too. There's lots of examples of
Definitely.
that in the world. And
Yeah.
I think it's about bringing really smart people into the room and not being threatened by that, and allowing them to challenge you and ask questions, and sitting with how uncomfortable that is when you're like, yep, you're right, that I didn't know that. And then just like, let the horses run, let them, you hired them for a reason, and let them do their things, and be there for them when things don't go the way that they intended. And authenticity, I think, too, is a big piece of it.
Yeah.
Showing up with consistency, being authentic, and helping them feel safe, is all pieces of that puzzle.
Definitely. Yeah. What advice would you give somebody that is interested in maybe starting a career in the nonprofit, whether they're, young and looking to come into it, or whether they're in a career change looking to come into it?
I think, looking like, talk to people, connect with folks who are already doing it. I think that's one of the cool things that's been about social sector social too, is that we've had some folks that are looking for careers in nonprofit, and they found it on, Eventbrite, and they've shown up. And first of all, I think that's like completely brave. I don't know that I would necessarily do that, but because I'm definitely more of an introvert. But I think it's about connecting with folks in the spaces that you want to be. And I think that goes for any job.
Yeah.
If you want to be in financial planning, if you want to be a lawyer, you want, connect with people who are really doing it, and find those folks who are not just going to sugarcoat it for you and say, yeah, you're gonna sleep 8 hours every night, and you're gonna, there's going to be a sense of fulfillment every day, and there's going to be all these magic moments, and certainly there's all of those things, but there's also the other side of it, and just the network and the connections for me have been huge for keeping me in the sector and for supporting me through the stuff that's been really hard. And yeah, I think it's about finding your people, and then sort of asking lots of good questions about
Yeah.
what it's like to do this job, and what it's like to be a part of this sector. And there's some of the most incredible humans that I've ever met in this sector. So anybody in any sector should reach out to somebody in nonprofit and have a coffee with them, and just talk about what you do.
Yeah. What's on the horizon for you, whether it's, the rest of 2024, or looking ahead?
Oh, well, I mean, we're kind of in our low season, counterintuitively, for bike organization. We do most of our
Right.
programming in the winter, when the young people are in school. So it's kind of gearing up for that.
Gearing up.
And
Yeah.
gearing up, yep. And we're gearing up for kind of the fall season, and just doing some mad fundraising, and we also run a social enterprise as a part of our work. So we run a used bike shop, where we sell used bikes and parts and other types of bike things, to help support their fundraising for the organization. And we're having our best year ever, which is really cool. And
Awesome.
so it's kind of planning for what next year looks like, to continue to set that up for success. Yeah, we have a lot of big dreams right now, and it's cool to be in a space where it feels like we have a little bit more of a luxury to dream a little bit, whereas COVID, when you run a hands-on in-person program,
Mm.
and over 3 days you cannot do that anymore for an indefinite amount of time. There's a lot of daily problem solving, and stress, and so now it feels like we're in a space where we can actually kind of get a little bold with the stuff that we're doing. And
Yeah.
I often say that we're the highest impact, most unheard of nonprofit in Calgary, and I aim to change that. So
Yeah.
you'll be hearing a lot more about 2 of you.
Awesome. Well, if somebody did want to learn more about that, or maybe learn more about yourself or connect with yourself, where would they go for that?
Yeah, I invite people to connect with me on LinkedIn, Laura Istead, Istead, or they can check out our website at twowheelview.org, and all Two-Wheel View all spelled out.
Yes, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, certainly want to thank you for being on the show today, Laura, and it was really good insight into your organization and what you guys are doing. And I think the social sector is going to be I think that'll take off because I think there's a lot of people in that industry that are probably craving for that type of interaction. So congratulations to you guys and for you to be working on those initiatives. And yeah, certainly appreciate having you here.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Matt. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
You've been listening to Beyond Wealth, Success Unscripted with Matt Calnan. Want to be our next guest? Visit beyondwealthpodcast.ca/guest. See you on the next episode.